Hello, my name is Dr. Evan Hughes and welcome to the Vitality Project. Today, we're going to be talking about injury recovery and how you can actually use injury to become stronger as a person. I have never met an athletic person who's achieved anything of note who doesn't have an injury story. That's a part of how it goes. The body just gets injured and we have this mystical thing inside of us called healing. As long as you are still alive and your body parts are connected, there's a constant state of healing and rejuvenation inside. So what we're going to cover today is ways you can help your body to help you to heal. The first principle is what I call the 100% rule. If you get injured, you will never, ever again be 100% of what you were. That's it. You're never going to go back there. You're either going to heal to 80 or 90%, or you're going to heal with greater capacity and strength following the injury. I'm not talking about, oh, I'm a little wiser now. No, no, no. Actual force in the body will be greater. The connectivity, the strength, the coordination will go past that point, or it won't quite reach it. And that's what we're going to talk about in future principles, is how to use it as a springboard in order to improve your athletic performance and the quality of your life. The second principle, or actually the myth I want to expose, is the resting myth. And this is the idea that when you injure a body part, you then need to rest that body part and restrict it from motion while it's healing. It's a lie. You shouldn't do that. And let me explain why. There's something in the body called the SAID principle that the body responds to. And SAID, S-A-I-D, states specific adaptation to imposed demand. What that means is we're adapting to the world. If we go into a cold environment, our body figures out how to deal with the cold. If we go to a warm environment, we have to figure out how to deal with the warm. If you're active, your body begins to figure out how to deal with an activity specifically, and if you're at rest, it will adapt to rest. And so if you have an injury to something like your shoulder, it will bring blood to that area in a thing called inflammation. The body resources will also be diverted there in terms of what the nervous system is interested in. What the Chinese call your qi begins to move to that section. That creates an opportunity for change. While that opportunity for change is happening in the presence of injury, if you rest it by putting in a sling and immobilizing it, the cells will become good at rest. Then, when you return to the activity that injured it in the first place, all of the cells are lined up, prepared for a resting state. And then you have to break up the connective tissue and begin to move it again so that you can continue doing whatever that activity is, whether it's golf, as I hurt myself on a golf swing because I did it improperly or I did too much. Then I rest, then I come back. I have to crack all the bubble wrap off again. I have to pull the plaster away. I have to take off the duct tape, cellularly speaking, in order to move again. So what's the alternative? Move. Continue to move as you are healing. Now, hopefully it's obvious that you can't continue to do the activity that you hurt yourself with at the same level of intensity. That would be stupid, and you're going to hurt yourself worse and worse. Right? What you do is you heal with less. You have less power, less range of motion, less speed, but you continue to do the same thing. So to use a golf example, and I'm not a golfer, I apologize for my bad swing, but I come here and I hurt myself by producing power. When I come back the second time, I pick up the club and I gently and slowly go through the same motion, and I find out where the tears are in the motion. Then I can do it without the club. I do the same action with empty hands. And what I'm doing is, as the cells are going through the healing process, I'm moving the body as they line up. And then the cells, they don't line up straight. They line up specifically in line with the force that has been applied to them. Now, in concerning bone, there's a thing called Wolff's Law, which states that the bones build in the direction of force that's applied to them. It has to do with charge and a bunch of other complicated things. But anthropologists can actually dig up a skeleton and take a look at it, and they can make assumptions about the person's life. Oh, that person was a hunter. That person was a gatherer, right? Carpenters, man, those guys are strong. They have a very specific kind of build to them, right? and it goes all the way down to the bones, in the ligaments, and in the muscles by specific adaptation to working with a hammer and hauling heavy things. The same will be true of your sport of choice. If you're a tennis player, you have specific collagen fibers laid out for that tennis swing. And if you change your swing, you'll feel unstable. And the same is true of any athlete. Right? Tiger Woods, who's a very celebrated golfer, he was a tremendous athlete, changed his swing and started losing until his body adapted to the new techniques, and then he started winning again. The same will be true for you, and in the presence of injury, you take the power away and continue to move as the cells begin to tumble into place. Now, here's a tricky principle. Nothing about growth is linear, and nothing about healing is linear. And what that means is, let's say I have an injury and I went from 100 points of strength on a scale that we just made up together. I got injured, now I'm down to 10 points of strength. What makes sense to our intellect is that I'm going to get 5 extra points every day until I go back to 100. And it's going to be every day I get a little bit stronger. That's not true. You don't get stronger every day. The cells are working every day. The cells are continuing to heal every day. That's true. You are getting better. But the strength goes up and down. Some days you'll feel strong and say, wow, this is much better. And the next day you'll feel weak. And the rate of change goes up and down as you're on your progression. Right? And so you got to be patient with your body. Here's another difficult thing. Different tissues of the body heal at different rates. And so if I asked you which heals faster, the joint capsule, the connective tissue that surrounds the synovial fluid and the ligaments here, or the muscle tissue? Everyone I've asked that question of it knows the muscle heals the fastest. So when you have an injury, you have to be mindful of how much force you're using across the lever of your joint and know which tissue is healing at which speed. Right? You've got to be patient and you've got to be connected. Another very important principle of healing is alignment. Right? I've used this very simple example. If I pick up a bag of groceries behind me and I attempt to lift it like this, out of alignment with the shoulder, I'm going to hurt myself. The chance of injury is very high. If I pick it up in front of me where I'm strong, much easier. I'm protected now. Right? Anytime you're engaging in new activity, exercise, or movement, you're fine-tuning the alignment. We get better and better at alignment as time goes on. A small story about secretaries learning to type. They found out that young secretaries, or newer ones, and older secretaries tend to type at the same rate of speed. But they couldn't figure that out because the older secretaries moved more slowly with their fingers on the keyboard. And what they learned was the young, quick secretaries would type fast, but their movements were not efficient with their fingers. An older secretary would learn to move her hands and prepare to hit the next key. So it wasn't necessary to move as fast in the fingers, but they got as many words out on the page as a younger, quicker one. I thought that was a fantastic analogy for sports and movement, where an old tennis player is going to have a very efficient swing. They're going to know right how to produce the force to the target. Same thing with the old masters in martial arts. They're right to where they need to go. You want to continue to build the smoothness of movement as the healing is taking place. It will protect your body and it will strengthen your body. I can't go any further without mentioning chiropractic care is extremely important in maintaining body alignment. Anytime we get injured, we lose our alignment with the body attempting to protect itself. And this is a brilliant system. This is not a mistake. And in chiropractic, we call it subluxation. Chiropractors restore subluxation and bring the alignment of the body back to centered to restore the strength. And that very much helps in the healing process of all parts of the body, because in proper alignment, it promotes circulation, which will help to speed healing, and it'll also help the fibers to line up in a way that is most functional. Critical, being adjusted throughout that healing process will speed things up. Here's another important principle of healing if you're going to be using the movement strategy and not resting it. No painkillers. You can't take them. If you've taken painkillers, you have to rest. And then you have to recover yourself later. The reason for that is you must get the feedback when you're injured, real time, and immediately when you're hurting yourself. Learn where that pain is. If you have a relationship with the pain as you're moving, as you're healing, my suggestion is to move up right next to it in the range of motion. The principle of healing with less power and less speed, also includes healing with less range of motion. And so if I'm throwing a baseball and my full range of motion is here, maybe I'm not going to come all the way back. I'm going to come just until the pain begins to kick in. And I want to go right up next to the pain, not through it. And each time I'm going to ask the body to go a little further as it continues the process of replacing the cells and healing them, laying down new collagen. And the pain becomes my guide. I'm on safari, I'm through the woods, I need a guy with a hat and a gun to tell me where to go to be safe. Same thing's true here. The guy with the hat is pain, and he'll say, right there, no further. And you ask it day by day to move a little bit more. One thing I do want to educate you on is there are some exceptions to these rules. One is if you actually break a bone, you don't want to move it. The bone does need time for it to put the glue called osteoid back into place, and then to put the calcium and phosphorus and minerals back in to harden it, right? So what do you do if you have a broken bone and you want to continue to use the SAID principle? There are two major ways you can do it. One is to move the other side, because the two sides of the body respond together on the cellular level, right? And we know it from the cross-crawl reflex. As you walk, the sides talk to each other. And so you can actually work this side. And so to use our tennis analogy, if I've actually broken a limb and I want to continue to work this, I would practice tennis on the other side, right? Being mindful of my injury, but it will bring that contraction across. The other is a thing called visualization, where you could watch a tennis player on YouTube and the cells would begin to be laid down. You could watch baseball, track and field, weightlifting. It makes no difference. Watching the activity begins to change the circulation as our body thinks that we're actually on the screen. This has been researched where they put electrodes or surface EMG on people's muscles, and then they had them watch the activity that they used to do, and they found out on the cellular level, the cells begin to respond by contracting just by watching. That will increase the healing process and will begin to stimulate the cells. Nothing beats movement, but that will help, right? There are 3 grades of tear in the body. Grade 1 is when you have an injury to tissue and it's beginning to become damaged, but if you were to take a camera picture of that tissue, it would look pretty much all right. It's a cellular tear. A grade 2 is where it's been cut like a rope and it's beginning to fray. It's still attached, but you've lost some of the integrity there. Grade 3 is where it's ripped completely, right? And some folks over 30, that happens to the Achilles tendon. Football players tend to notice in the biceps tendon. They'll injure and pull away completely. Obviously, if it's pulled away completely, it's very hard for the body to reach out and grab onto that tissue. It is possible under some circumstance, but very difficult. So the body needs to be aligned and it needs to be connected. It needs to have the nervous system with the ability to lay down those new cells, right? Last principle of healing, and this one is very significant. Learn to love injury. And if you hadn't seen the beginning of the segment, you would think I was a crazy person. But the injury itself, if you can get into the process and enjoy the healing, enjoy the awareness that comes with it, see it as a personal experiment, a personal journey towards getting your body parts to become stronger, you develop a relationship with that body part, and the injury actually becomes your friend because you can heal stronger than when you started. The cells will lay out. It's almost like pushing the reset button. And when you put everything back together, it will be lined up how you need. If you understand movement, if you can have patience and establish that good alignment, you'll be another in the line of amazing athletes that all have good injury stories. You can tell the story and show off your amazing shoulder. You can show off the knee that used to be a problem that is now extremely strong. You can use that as a catapult to become mightier. The point is never to become perfect. Mother Nature doesn't need perfect to express 100% health. My name is Dr. Evan Hughes, and thank you for joining us for the Vitality Project.